Hello and welcome to the East Township. Participants informed the meeting is recorded. Due to the COVID-19 virus, WOOFs or limiting indoor gathering in attendance meeting is limited to a maximum of 20 people observing social distancing. Additionally, based upon the secretary regarding coverings, all participants in the public are required to wear a face unless into one of the options. While maintaining social distance, participants may remove their covering. For this meeting,
Kara, it's all broken up.
utilize Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote and audio conferencing. Application is free to the public. Public is therefore able to connect through the internet by calling by phone. The public is also able to access the meeting township's YouTube channel. Township is aimed to utilize the for all public meetings during and the COVID-19 crisis. Continue to township website for updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these meetings will also be available on township's and posted on the township building. The township will also be recording meeting and available for me via the township YouTube channel. Every effort will be made to ensure live streaming website are working. East Lander Township takes no responsibility and cannot be held liable for the availability of streaming part or due to technical beyond it. Streams and record all meeting the prop of East Lander Township acted by copyright. As streams and of meeting provided for a video audio must be altered, reproduced, republished without permission. Peter. It said that all participants on Zoom mute microphone meeting. If they wish to speak, make a motion, and vote. All votes will be taken by roll so that they can properly lead it. Or accommodate public comment at this meeting, will be accepting public comment in writing or mail. Instructions for submission of comments are available on the town website. All those providing public comment will be required to provide name and address in order for their comments to be into the record. Inappropriate comments will be read into the record. Be reminded the meeting is video and audio recording and will send to the YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting proceed with calling the meeting order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room joining the Zoom. The chairman will then confirm the members joining by Zoom can be.
Was it just me? I heard about every third or fourth word. Is that true for everybody? So there's something with that presentation from your end. I think everybody's here heard it except maybe Mike Hucksta.
Yeah, I was able to hear it.
You could not?
I could, yes.
Oh, it was clear?
It was just very faint, but I could hear it.
Yeah, it was very spotty, every third or fourth word, and it kind of sequenced in and out the entire length of it.
Yeah, that's the same for me, Daryl.
Okay. Well, if
Okay,
Mike,
we'll take a look at that. Thank you.
okay, if Mike heard it, that's where it's important. The rest of us have heard it already in the past meetings, so no need to repeat it. So thank you. So at this point, I'll call the meeting to order. I'm Daryl Seesolz, Chair of the Planning Commission, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States
of America
and to the
republic for which it stands,
and one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
visible, with liberty
and justice for all. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the January 12th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. Are there any corrections or comments?
I have just one minor. Dan Pereza wasn't at the meeting. If you'll notice in the first paragraph, I think it meant me being here, but I didn't see any other errors.
We'll change that to Dan McCune.
Thank you, Dan. That's the one I had also. There's no other changes. Look for motion to approve the minutes of January 12th.
So moved.
Now, a motion by Roger. Do we have a second?
Second.
And second by Sarah. All those in favor, raise your hand and indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
So all five approve the minutes. Thank you. Old business, none at this time. New business, we have the Glick Fire Equipment Land Development Plan for 350 Mill Creek Road. Good evening. I believe, Mike, you're here to represent that.
Yes, hi, everybody. I'm Mike Huxta. I'm with ELA Group. Tara, do you want me to share my screen?
We allow him to do that. Give us 1 second, Mike.
Okay.
You should be able to share your screen now, Mike.
Okay. The Glick Fire Equipment Company, it's located on the west side of Mill Creek Road, right before Mill Creek Road goes underneath the railroad tracks. The Smoketown Airport is to the west and south, and the railroad track embankment is to the north of the site. And what the Smoketown, or I'm sorry, what the Glick Fire Equipment Company intends to do is construct a 2,300 square foot building addition for offices, a conference room, and additional lavatories. And to accomplish that, they're going to have to remove a few parking spaces out front. So they're going to expand their parking. Their existing parking lot in front of the building will be expanded to get an additional 12 net parking spaces. And with that, there's going to be a small retaining wall. It's going to be about 3.5 feet high. And the stormwater will be a basin that's underneath the parking lot expansion. The rainwater from the roof will be directed to the new underground basin with drip distribution pipes, and it will outlet through the retaining wall. And really, that's the plan. It's pretty simple. To do this, we're asking for a few waivers. And I could either take questions about the plan or go through the waivers first.
Oh, we have a review letter from Dave Miller Associates dated January 15th,
Yes,
and you have a copy of that?
yes, I do.
Okay. And the waivers are the first item in that letter. So.
Yes, the waivers, I don't have that letter on my screen, but I have my waiver request letter up here. So the first one we're looking for is a waiver of the preliminary plan application. And that's basically, this is such a simple project. We can get it all done with one plan application. And then we're looking for a waiver of plan scale. The township requires either a 50-foot or 100-foot, but we wanted to make the plans larger since it's such a small site. We can enlarge the plans to get them to read better. And then the next ones I'm looking at here are, we're going to ask for a waiver of constructing the existing streets and curbs and sidewalk along Mill Creek Road. So we're going to ask that as a deferral of constructing those improvements now. And if somebody comes along and requires those improvements in the future, then the property owner will go ahead and make their contribution to that project or construct those improvements. So right now, there's a lot of work involved with that for such a small project. And if they're not connecting to anything, it really doesn't make sense to make those improvements at this time. Especially if there's road widening involved, it comes down to that railroad tunnel. So the road really can't be expanded in that area. So you'll have a wider road going down to a smaller road. But if something happens in the future, this will ensure that the property owner will be able to contribute to those roadway improvements. And with that, I was also asking for a waiver of curbs. So I want to ask for a waiver of the curb that's required for the parking lot expansion. So we are adding curb to the planting island to help direct traffic around there and protect the plants and the light pole. But for the curb around the outer perimeter, we would like to ask for a modification of that requirement. And instead of providing the curb, we'll provide concrete wheel stops so vehicles don't back into the grass area and keep control over that the vehicle traffic so they don't go into the grass. So this modification will make it easier to maintain the parking lot, especially during snowstorms, and will allow the parking lot to be built closer to the existing grades. So for the modifications, they're the 5 that I'm asking for, requesting.
So your last one for the curbing in the parking lot, you have not submitted that in writing yet?
No, I did not. So when I did that, I did it as the deferral, but I didn't specifically write that in as being for the parking lot. So that was kind of an error on my part. I didn't request that formally, but I will do that with this next submission, which will probably be next week. We're looking to get the plans back in.
Okay. The plan you're showing now doesn't show the grading of the parking area, but is that sheet?
Here's the
Draining.
grading.
Okay, so it's actually draining
It drains towards the building to the
southwest.
lower corner where we have an inlet.
Okay,
So a lot of times the curb is used to direct stormwater and control traffic flow. And we feel we don't need it for the outer perimeter of this parking lot for that reason.
yeah, or conversely, a lot of times the curb is eliminated when it's sheet drains, so you get a sheet drainage onto the grass area, but you're draining the opposite direction, so.
Yeah, it would be like the grass area. The edge of curb would be right here, and we're draining into a swale along the edge of this parking lot right over here.
Okay.
So if we did that, we'd have to move the inlet to inside the curb area. We'd like to have a low point outside of the parking area right here. Might be able to see that on this screen. That's the inlet that we're draining to in the grass area.
As part of the letter from Dave Miller, there was also a question about the sidewalk in the parking area.
Yes, the sidewalk over here, we're showing it as 4 feet. And then they brought up the issue about it needing to be a 6-foot wide sidewalk. So we are making that modification. So we'll have a 6-foot wide sidewalk against the parking lot as the letter references. And then we can just scoot this parking down a couple more feet over here.
So the other section of the sidewalk that's in front of the addition to the east, that's a ramp sidewalk, right? Will
It's,
that
yeah,
also be
it
6?
is acting as a ramp, and we have the 2-foot requirement in the front of that sidewalk.
So will that also be 6 feet?
No, it would only be required where it's adjacent to the parking. So 4 foot would be allowed, unless it's adjacent to the parking, then it has to be increased to 2 feet or have a 2-foot wide planting strip between the parking and the sidewalk. So we're meeting that requirement with the sidewalk in the front. The area of concern was in this area outside of the building.
And 4 feet sufficient for the ADA?
Yes, it is. For ADA access, 36 inches is required.
Just to be clear, Mike, so you're actually requesting a deferral for improvements to the streets and the curbs and sidewalks along Mill Creek, but asking for a waiver of the curbs and sidewalks around the parking lots. Is that
Yes,
True.
that is correct. And that would be
Yeah.
the same,
Okay.
section.
Yeah, David Miller's letters, it's made, it said it appears that you were requesting that. So yeah, part of it, but not the, in the parking lot. So.
Right, that is accurate.
Okay. So that covers the waivers. There were 2 general comments. 11 zoning. Do you have any issue with any of the other comments in the letter, Mike?
No, the general comments, one was to remove, we had something in our legend referencing bituminous sidewalk, and we don't have that on here. So we'll remove that, and then just correcting some overlapping text. They were the 2 general comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the 11 zoning comments, you would have to come in compliance with our zoning officer.
Right, I don't see any major issues with those comments either. The one, number 5, it says unless otherwise permitted by East Lampeter Township, no fence, wall, or hedge shall be erected or planted within the encroaching upon the street right-of-way, floodplain, pedestrian, utility easement, stormwater management facility, or drainage easement. So what that is referring to is this retaining wall actually goes through the easement because the stormwater facility drains through that retaining wall. So by way of this plan application, we're requesting that the township allow that.
That you'll need to work out with our zoning officer and
Yes. Yeah. It
engineer.
says unless otherwise permitted. So I don't see that as an issue at this point.
Okay.
Mike, this is Randy. Could I just ask a question on the zoning piece on number 7? Why
Yes.
you feel, or why Glick feels a need to exceed the 125%?
Yes. So that's pretty interesting comment because most people are trying to do less parking and what they're going to do with their plan, they have approximately 31 employees on the site, or they will have 31. They're going to hire 2 new employees on this site. So they're required to have 1 space per 2 employees, but typically there's more cars, more employees drive than that. So with 31 employees on site, they feel they need a few more parking spaces for when visitors come, when clients come, and when salespeople come, they'll have enough parking at that point. So that's why they want to exceed the parking number that they have. So let me zoom out here a little bit more so you can understand this plan. So the existing parking back here is employee parking. And then they have large vehicle parking. That's where they put the trucks that they're working on. The fire trucks get parked back here. Employee parking, you have employee parking on the side, and then employee parking in the front. So with removing this and adding on to the parking, they feel they can get a few more parking spots. So they have plenty of room when visitors come, they're not looking for parking spots.
Okay, thank you.
Following on that parking, Mike, the 4 spaces on the south side of the building,
Yes,
they're marked as customer parking. And then there's also an entrance for that next to that crosshatched hatched area to the west where there's a customer entrance door. So I was just curious, and you've answered some of it, but that's identified as to be the customer parking. And so the front I'm getting is to be maybe more for employees and not as much for customer. And then there's no handicap parking on that side, which,
right. I believe that's going to be changed. Like this would probably just be employees here because it's better access for the employees. So then the customer parking will be in the front so they can direct them to the front door, which is right in this area.
okay. Yeah, because that door on the side now, at least as of 2-3 o'clock this afternoon, was marked customer entrance.
Right. And I think they're going to change that. They don't want as many people coming in that side. They want them coming in the front. Here's the floor plan that this is the expansion area here. So when you come in the front door, they're going to have a desk in this area where everybody can check in.
Okay. It appears they have a couple chairs there for,
Right, little lobby.
It looks like a large percentage of the parking is due to the fire trucks. Is that correct? I mean,
Yes, in the back, they have about, I think they're like 15 parking spaces back there, but they're large and they need a bigger parking area to store them.
So that's taking up a lot of your, why you had to increase it, I guess. Yeah, why it's over what normally is allowed or requested.
well, that'll be you'll need to address that with some detail before you go to the supervisors and depending on our motion this evening
Okay.
with the justification for it.
I have a question, Mike. In back of the airport, along the railroad bed, there's sort of like a driveway stoned. So are there agreements? Is there an easement for this property to go onto that driveway or the other way around? Are there any agreements to sort of that looks like a driveway?
Are you referring to this right here?
Yes, and then it runs into the,
Oh, that's an existing tree line. There's shrubbery along there. That's actually an embankment, and that's the edge of the trees.
no, it would be farther away.
Farther to the west?
Yeah, it runs along the railroad bed, but farther away. It looks like there used to be sort of like a stone lane or something. I'm remembering my walks back along there.
There is a stone lane on the airport property
Okay,
that goes along the railroad track, but it doesn't come down this far. This is where the basin is. It doesn't quite come down. It might come down to the edge of this basin
all
for
right.
maintenance, but it doesn't connect to the Glick property. But there are no plans to connect to that.
Any Any other questions on the zoning or comments? If not, we'll move to the subdivision land development for 19 items. Do you have any issue with, other than 15 and 16, which were the curbs and sidewalk, which we talked about?
No, I went through the comments today and was preparing my response letter, and I didn't see anything of issue with those comments.
So you should be able to come in compliance with those.
Yes.
Planning Commission, any questions or comments on the,
For me,
if not? Then under stormwater management, there's 1 through 38 with some exhibits in the letter. Again, Mike, do you have any issue with?
No, our stormwater engineers have been working on that, and they haven't really had any issues that they needed to contact David Miller Associates about. So they haven't raised any major concerns with me on those comments.
Those would have to come in compliance with our engineer. And
Yes.
any questions on those you would work out with, Dave Miller and Associates.
Yes.
Planning Commission, any other concerns on the letter from Dave Miller?
no.
I guess you're looking at on number 24, the depressions there. I guess concern would be sinkholes in the future. I'm assuming you're addressing that, and we'll be with that with our engineer.
Yes, we contacted the geotechnical engineer that we use for this project to get some more information from them about that. So we'll be able to address those comments as well. And that's one of the reasons why we didn't use the existing basin to the south, because it didn't have enough loading ratio capacity for infiltration. So when we looked at this area, we got the recommendation from the geotechnical engineer that we would be able to satisfactorily infiltrate in this area underneath the parking lot. So yeah, we don't have any concerns about that.
We also have a review from Lancaster County Planning Commission dated January 26th. And there were 3 comments in that letter. Site design commentary. Places 2040 recommends bicycle and pedestrian connections on roads within village growth areas. And it is strongly recommended it is installed as part of this project. However, if the township determines that a sidewalk deferral is appropriate, then its future installation should be clearly tied to future improvements on this site or as part of future road work to Mill Creek Road. So we'll see what our motion has, but with the deferral request, if that's approved, that may be added as bicycle and connects pedestrian, might be an issue there. The second is the applicant should include a bicycle rack in the front of the building so that staff and visitors have the option to bike to the site. And third is add the LCPC file number to the lower right-hand corner of the plan. Mike, any comments on those?
The only one that I see is the bicycle rack. If we need to put one in or not, I don't know how many people actually do bicycle here. There might be some employees. I don't know if they have any employees that may bicycle, but we can find an appropriate spot if that's something that you would put in as your recommendation, that we follow that comment recommendation. I don't know. I don't think the the owner thinks it's really necessary at this time. But
Well,
that
you
would be
might-
an easy fix if required.
You might have more need for a scooter, you know, for the Amish. I don't know, Amish employees there possibly.
Yeah, right.
So you might, yeah, so in combination with bike and scooters, yeah, the Amish don't usually bike, but they do use the scooters.
Yeah, so I can talk with the property owner about that and see if find an appropriate place if that is a requirement that we should follow from the county planning letter.
Had a similar concern, and the one might be, given the nature of the business here, if there are employees that bicycle or scooter to work, it's probably in the building with them. It's a little different type of business that would probably be appropriate to let it inside for security and safety.
Yeah, there are a lot of vehicles driving around here with the big trucks and everything. And with their hours, there could be people that bike or use scooters to get here. I'm just not really aware of them if they do have those employees.
There was a comment about the lighting, where the one pole's remaining at the entrance when you first come in. The other one at the back of the existing parking is being relocated. I noticed the flagpole that is just off the existing parking area is being removed. But I didn't, and I may have missed it. I didn't see a relocation for that.
Yeah, that actually didn't make it into the first submission, but on the revised plans, I'm going to show the existing light is in this location right behind the inlet. So that
Yeah.
one will remain. And then the other light was at this location, and we have to move it over to the planning island to get the access drive for the parking. And the light pole will be moved over to this area, or the flagpole will be moved over to this island. So the
Okay.
next plan submission will clearly show that.
Okay. My concern was with all the subsurface work that you're doing, it'd probably be good for you to place that so it doesn't get misplaced.
Right, there are a lot of utilities going on out here.
Yeah, it'd be good for you to identify an appropriate and safe, yes. Okay. Kara, are there any comments from the public?
I have no comments from the public at this time.
Okay. Any further discussion from the planning commission? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion concerning the preliminary final land development plan for Glick Fire Equipment Company building expansion review number 1 at 350 Mill Creek Road, East Lampeter Township Project 2020-21. Under waivers and modifications, the applicant has requested a waiver requirements to submit a preliminary plan. I would recommend that waiver be granted. The applicant under scale, the applicant is requesting a modification to this requirement and is proposing using varying scales for clarity purposes. I would recommend that this request be granted. Also, the applicant shall update the reference on the cover sheet to list section 403B. Concerning streets at the perimeter or within the proposed development, the applicant is requesting a deferral related to the cartway width on Mill Creek Road, and the existing right-of-way is adequate per DeSaldo. I would recommend this deferral request be granted to the widening of Mill Creek Road. And they've also, let's see, and that reference deferral shall be added to the plan also. As per curbs and sidewalks, they are also requesting a deferral related to curbs and sidewalks on Mill Creek Road, but they're also requesting a waiver for curbs and sidewalks on the parking lots. I would recommend those requests be granted at this time also. Under general, they agree that they'll come into clean up the plans on those zoning. They will come into line with that. Let's see, there's a note here. Yeah, I think that was all I wanted to say there. Okay, under under subdivision and land development, they're going to come under compliance with that. Yeah, except for number 15 and 16, and that was handled by waivers in the modification part. They will come into compliance on all stormwater management recommendations. And let's see, that was it on. And reference to Lancaster County Planning Commission recommendations, they will look into providing bicycle rack slash parking for that. I would recommend they look into some kind of bicycle pedestrian connections along the roads there. However, I could see that should be recommended as a deferral as to the improvement time along Mill Creek Road, and when at time the supervisors should look to do that. I would also like to make note that they will show the lighting plan and the flagpole on the plan when they come to the supervisors. With that, I would recommend that be sent on to the supervisors for approval.
I have
Mr.
a
Chairman,
question.
if you'll allow me to just sum that up.
Go ahead.
Okay.
A conditional approval of the plan based on the David Miller Associates review letter dated January 15th, 2020, the Lancaster County Planning Commission review letter dated January 26th, 2020, approval of the waiver of preliminary plan scale, and curbs within parking lots. Deferral of sidewalk, curb, and road widening with a recorded deferral agreement along Mill Creek Road. Justification in writing for parking exceeding 125%. Look into providing a bike and or scooter rack on the property. That's what I've got.
The dates that you had on David Miller's letter, what did you say?
January 15th and January 26th for LCPC.
Okay. Okay, right. I thought I heard you wrong there.
Did I collect everything that you said, Mr. McCune?
I believe you got it covered.
Okay.
Just a clarification. There is no deferral request for the parking sidewalk. It's just for the curbing, because if I heard you right, Mike, you said you were going to widen the sidewalk to 6 feet.
Yes, right. That's correct.
So you won't be asking for any deferral or waiver of the parking lot walkway. It's just for the curbing, which you'll need to submit the written request for.
Would there normally be other sidewalks around the parking lot though, other than just that parking lot where he is talking about putting it in? would it normally be required? That's what I'm saying.
No, they would be required at that frontage there from the parking lot into the building.
Okay, but nowhere else. Okay, so he would not need a deferral for that then.
That's correct.
Okay,
I just want to make sure that we're clear on Mike's request for no curbing on that interior parking lot, just so we could,
he's asking for a waiver of the,
yeah,
on that.
but you said it wasn't clearly stated in yours and you were going to restate it.
Right, I will restate that and have that. I'll make that a separate request in the next submission.
All right, just so
It's
we,
the same section number, but I'll break it out so it's listed twice.
okay, just so we as a planning commission understand exactly what we're saying. So
Right,
I'm
okay.
happy with that.
And I wasn't sure if Dan said, but Tara's, what she gave us, there would be written agreements for all the deferrals required and put in place. That would be necessary for the waivers.
Yes, okay.
There's no further discussion. I'll look for a second on that motion.
I'll second it.
We have the motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, I believe we had 5 affirmatives. Thank you,
All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
and get back to our township engineer and, yeah. And then you can work through with Tara as to when you'll be on the supervisors.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Like,
Next item on the agenda is the Plan 2021-01 High Associates, 1706.
well, I had expected Ken Hornbeck to be on the call. Something may have come up to preclude him from being here. This is a fairly straightforward request for 1706 Hempstead Road. The request is to add 1,092 square feet within the existing building, so there's no exterior addition here. They're adding a mezzanine in the building for storage. So there's no stormwater, there's no zoning, it doesn't add employees, so there's no parking additional requirements. As you can see in the review, it was that the conditions may be that any other changes to the site would need to go through a full land development, and that, of course, they need to have all their building permits in place.
Kurt, do you know where this 1,092 square feet is in the building? Is it in the front at the entrance or in the back at the loading docks or?
Know that answer, Daryl.
They said, yeah, the interior of the building has a mezzanine, but some mezzanine I took would be the entrance, but
Doesn't really need to be at the entrance.
yeah, I maybe misinterpreted that. You know what's in that space now?
Actually, there is an existing 400 square foot mezzanine, and this is expanding that by another almost 1,100 square feet. Right now, they use it for storage. This is the Bosch building, if you're familiar with the property.
Yeah, it's
Did
on-
you say what kind of building is it?
It's the Bosch building.
Okay,
It's on the corner of what, Old Hempstead and Hempstead. And it has the block glass circular structure in the front entrance area. Not sure what's in there, but that runs like 2 stories. It's kind of interesting. I've never been in it, but yeah. as Tara said, this seems pretty straightforward as far as land development and a waiver request. Any other questions or comments? If not, we can, there are the two conditions that are recommended, as Tara mentioned in the staff review. Now, for a motion in reference to this waiver of land development.
I'll make a motion that the request for waiver of land development for 1706 Hempstead Road by High Associates be conditionally approved, with the conditions that any further changes to the site will proceed through the land development process, and that all building permit requirements will be adhered to for a commercial building.
Thank you. Do I have a second for the motion?
Second.
We have the motion and a second. All those in favor say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. We had all 5 in favor. Motion passes. Thank you. Under briefing items, campus improvements at the East Lampeter Township municipal facilities.
Can you all see on your screens the campus plans?
No,
Nope.
not yet.
Okay, give us just a minute.
Now it's up.
Right now, what you're seeing, or what I hope you're seeing on the screen, is a new impound yard behind the existing Public Works salt shed. And then just on the other side of the existing Public Works salt shed is basically a structure that goes over top of the dump pit for Public Works. It's to enclose that area because it actually ices up in there on the fellas. And the impound yard is to take in more vehicles because the police department is, in some instances, required to keep a vehicle through the entire appeals process, which may be years, or in some cases, decades. There will also be a proposed shed in the northeasternmost corner of the impound yard for other evidence that may or may not be vehicle related, but is large enough to store in a shed rather than in the evidence room here in the building. That will, allowing these to be, the impound yard to be constructed will free up, I believe it's 7 spaces that are in the existing impound yard for employee parking. This is the first phase of campus improvements. If you were part of the forecast meeting, you may have heard of other improvements that we're looking at, but those are really down the road. So over the next 5 to 10 years, but these are improvements that are needed this year and are budgeted for this year. So we are under 1 acre of disturbance, and therefore we will not need an NPDES permit to move this forward. but this is coming to you as a briefing item this month. It'll come to you for a recommendation in March, and it will go to the Board of Supervisors at their March 15th meeting. It's also at Lancaster County Planning Commission, or it will go to Lancaster County Planning Commission under the MOU process, because the improvements, quite honestly, are, in their perspective, are minimal.
The new impound yard, is that, what's the surface? Is that paved now or is that grass
That is
area?
the grass area right now.
So will there be any drainage structures?
I'm sorry, Daryl.
Will there be any drainage structures, any inlets, piping?
Actually, because of the changes that we made to the basins on the campus here in the township property over the last few years, the amount of water that is filtered through those, as well as the quantity that they can hold, has increased to account for this. According to the stormwater calculations, I'm not professing to be an engineer.
Yeah, I didn't know which way that, I'm trying to recall the slope on that new parking for the impound yard, and if that'll be draining out on the road through the site.
Actually, I think this goes, I think part of it goes into what we call Basin 3, which is on the west side of the property towards the rear of the administration building. And a small portion on the east side goes to what we call Basin 4, which is the large behind the Public Works building.
Okay. So it would drain to the east away from the through road on the site. Okay. Okay.
Also, just for your information, we'll be removing a small piece of macadam in the existing impound yard and returning that to a grass area. We wouldn't be able to park there. It physically doesn't work. And so we're not going to keep the macadam there. We'll return that to grass.
Along with,
Go ahead, Dan.
along with the fencing, I assume will all be removed in the existing.
Yeah, we're actually looking to remove the existing fencing around the existing impound yard and reuse it as much as we can around the proposed impound yard.
Tara, is there security lighting that will be required at the impound lot?
There will be, and there'll be wall packs on the rear of the Public Works salt shed.
Okay.
And we've also accounted for security cameras as well.
I was thinking more of the residential units along Elmwood Road, whether they would be impacted by the new lighting.
So there's actually a row of trees on the east side of the property, and there are some trees currently on the north portion of the property line. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Hutch. So those trees are not small in nature. I don't think that we'd be impacting by light any existing dwellings. They don't sit quite that far back. And the property to the north is the school, and the lights at the ball field would probably be brighter than the lights on the wall packs.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. As we move forward with the impound yard, I call them the boxes in the yard where they keep mulch and different stone. They'll all be reorganized. Right now, they're kind of in the center of the laydown yard, and they'll be reorganized at the end of this impound yard so that we can have single direction flow of vehicles in and out of the impound yard.
So you'll have it gated at both ends.
That's correct.
Okay. It appears that, I guess this is somewhat in the sightline from the municipal building and the police station. So it's
It
not,
is, absolutely.
yeah, so just be a concern of not having any landscaping or material that would isolate it more. Probably be, yeah, the openness is probably good for security along with the lighting.
It will be.
Just another question, Tara, on it. You mentioned it on Saturday that with this additional parking that there is future plans for solar panels in the parking lot?
Well, we are taking a look at whether or not we can do raised solar panels over top of the parking area. Not in the impound yard, but in the employee parking area, which is on the western side. I'm not certain. Yeah, can you see where Hutch is pointing right now?
Yeah, directly behind the municipal portion of the building.
That's correct. So we're investigating the opportunities in raised solar panels over parking area.
So you could actually park underneath those panels then.
That's correct.
So collect the sun and keep the cars cool.
That would be optimal.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? If not, we have a second briefing item for James Fisher, Eastland Drive.
So fairly straightforward. Right now, it is a single lot with a small cottage on the property or single family home. The current owner went to the zoning hearing board and obtained zoning hearing board approval for side yard variance. Looking to subdivide it into a flag lot with a single family in the rear portion of the property and a duplex in the front portion of the property.
So lot 1, 2, and 3 that's on the plan you gave us is currently now all one lot.
That is correct.
So their plan is to divide it into 3 lots
That is correct.
with lots 2 and 3 having a shared access.
That is correct. So you'll see this next month for recommendation to the board.
Okay. Other business? Any at this time? Not? Any announcements?
Time.
Any public
Thank
comments?
you to all of those that were able to attend on Saturday. Your time is greatly appreciated.
So I skipped item 8 on the agenda since we didn't have one. We went from 7 to 9.
Just for the record's sake, I'd like to point out that there were no public comments for the 1706 Hempstead waiver of land development.
Oh, thank you. So with the renumbering under item 9, if there's no further comments, look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And the second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for your participation this evening, and next meeting would be March 9th.
Thank you. Good night.
Amen. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.